The recording started. There we go. Okay.
Want me to start again?
Sure. Well, the only people, Judy, you're on the commission and you need to unmute because it's you and Leslie for the minutes.
Oh,
Oh, you mean for voting?
all right. We don't have a quorum for the minutes. If there's only two of us here, we don't have a quorum. So let's,
Is that not enough? Don't you just need 2 of the 4?
I thought we needed 3, 2 plus 1.
I have to double check. There's no harm in pushing it off to the next month.
Yeah, let's push the minutes off and let's turn it over to Jocelyn to see how we are doing and what the next step is.
Okay. Thanks.
Michelle, do you want to let me screen share? Are you in charge or?
Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay.
I was writing everybody down.
So I think what we're going to talk about tonight, I just wanted to review with the committee the changes that were made to the draft housing plan since the last time we met. And then really get into talking about preparing for the planning commission meeting on October 6th, when the draft housing plan will be presented. And as you know, there's a flyer out there intended to help get residents to attend virtually the planning commission meeting to hear more about the draft housing plan. So we can talk about getting that flyer out, getting people to the planning commission meeting. And also, I think we should talk about kind of what Wayne thinks maybe is best in terms of what might be part of that presentation or not part of that presentation. So that's what's on my list, if that's good with you guys. So I will start by sharing, this is the version of the draft housing plan that's on the town website. And again, just wanted to make sure everyone's on the same page with what's been added to it since the last time we met. And let me just look at my notes too while we are reviewing this. One thing that I did add, that's a small thing. I know we still have to add the dates for the adoption process, but again, we haven't done that yet, so we'll add it once it happens. I did add, I think this is new since the last meeting.
Can you zoom that in a little, Jocelyn?
Yeah, sorry.
Thanks.
This sentence here about, because as you know, the definition of affordable housing is housing that's affordable to households earning 80% of the area median income or less. So there is a HUD data source that tells us how many Washington households earn 80% of the area median income or less. So I added that in here. It's this sentence here. So 420 households in the town do earn below either 80% of the area median income or below, just so you have a sense of that. I did add that. I think I did. Did I have all these pictures in here last time? I added some images, but
those are all posted on the website. That's on the version that I have.
Yeah, no, this is the version that's posted on the website. It's just, I just wanted to make sure I don't think this was the version that we reviewed last time we met, which was a while ago.
Right.
So I just wanted to quickly kind of make sure everyone knew what had been added since we last met.
Mm-hmm.
This is all the same. This is all the same, the survey results, demographic trends, range of housing options, all of that, all of this data is the same. Really the main additions, changes, we did, just scroll down to, I think Wayne encouraged us to take out the, in these suggested actions or strategies, he wanted us to take out the word consider, for them to just have them be more, less squishy, I guess. And I did that on most of them, except I did leave consider in for two things. One is, and we can change it, obviously, but the consider establishing a housing rehab program. I just feel like there's a lot involved in a town starting a program like that. It could potentially be paid for through a small cities grant, for example, but it feels to me kind of like something that needs to be explored before, it really should be considered before I wouldn't feel comfortable telling a town it should do this necessarily, because it's taking on a new program.
I like that approach, Jocelyn. I think it's something we can work forward, as time moves on. And I think hopefully Wayne will consider is a good term for this particular section.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just that one strategy here. I just felt like wasn't necessarily comfortable taking out the word consider, but again, I'm open to other viewpoints on that.
I agree.
other-
I would leave it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely.
I'm fine with it.
okay. The only other consider I left in here was this town ordinance that allocates a portion of conveyance fees that are already being collected and that could be deposited into the town's existing affordable housing fund. Again, I don't think this committee necessarily did enough homework to figure out, like, what does that look like? Where do those conveyance fees go now? What portion of conveyance fees would go there? So just that felt to me like another thing that would be good for somebody to look into and then for the town to consider it. But
Well, for the record, that's not the first time the town has considered it.
Okay.
It actually was in a previous plan, if I recall. So it's something
specifically
that,
the conveyance fees?
yeah.
Okay.
That enabling legislation has been around for a while, actually. So I don't know. I mean, I don't have strong feelings about that. I mean,
Okay.
the town has actually reinstated funding the town's housing fund, although not as much as I would like, but at least they've done that. So, the housing fund is going to be receiving some money. So, I don't, I'm not gonna squabble over that.
Okay. No, I think it's terrific that if the town is putting some funding into the Affordable Housing Fund, and this could just potentially be another way of funding that as well. So, all right, terrific. I just wanted to mention that because we did talk about that at the last meeting, and then probably all of you noticed, but Wayne did give me the example village housing opportunity overlay zone, and that is here as an appendix. Again, it's sample language, and this is one of the suggested strategies is to I think this one does not say consider. It says something stronger than that.
Yes, and I'm putting my foot down on that. No consider on this one. We got to hold people's head underwater.
Yeah, this one says create a village housing opportunity overlay zone. And then it refers people to the appendix to see an example. So we did add that in.
I agree with that. I think that's a good approach and get people more aware of what we're trying to do here. So I think that's a good way to go.
Great.
And just as going back one step, I did speak to Jimmy because of the American Rescue Funds. And I did ask him to consider something for housing along like a rebuild or a restructure for people, if there's an assistance that they might need. So I don't know where that sits right now, but I did request that when he was asking for ideas.
That's great. Maybe once the plan is adopted, the Housing Commission, one of it, just like it administers the down payment assistance program, maybe helping facilitate those kinds of, whether it's renovations or improvements, maybe it could be
Yeah,
something.
that was
Yeah.
my whole idea. And that's
Great.
why I asked him, so.
Can
Good,
I ask-
okay.
Hey, Jocelyn?
Yeah.
I actually had a couple of little tiny edits and I can't find all of my notes, but I found one of them on page 12, under goal 3. It just was confusing to me. I just think if we replace the word build with increase, just because we're talking about housing, and I kept reading it as actually building, and I was like, oh wait, no, that's not what she's talking about. But people get a little touchy about the town building, so actually building housing.
Wait, where, I'm
I'm sorry, goal 3, number 3, it says assist the Washington Community Housing Trust to build its capacity and resources to address housing needs. I think if we just change that build to increase its capacity, so
Okay.
that they don't think we're actually building. And there was like one other, I'll find it maybe later, but that was the only thing. But otherwise, I think it looks really nice. You did a great job of really laying it out.
I see Jay has his hand up.
Yeah, I was wondering if I could I've not attended all your meetings and I apologize for that. And I read the document. I think it's great. It's pretty compelling about what needs to be done in this town. But I was surprised that the number that you're looking to do over 5 years is only 30. And I'm wondering where you guys came up with that number. I mean, if we only have 42 now and we have, what is it, 200 and something that we're aiming for, it seemed 30 is kind of a low number to, if this is our goal. And I'm just curious what the discussion was around where that number came from.
Well, Jay, just to start, and then I'm sure other people have ideas. It's a 5-year plan.
Right.
And I think what we were thinking is that if we could get 1 or 2 single family homes to come online, either through the Housing Trust or the Habitat Project, that would be great. And then the other, if we could get 1 multi-unit project in the 5 years, that would be a huge success, a huge step forward. We haven't had a multi-unit project happen in this town in 20, 30 years. I don't know when the last one was, but church was done probably almost 20 years ago. So, we were trying to set realistic goals. I think.
And I understand that. And I'm not trying to be unrealistic, I guess. And maybe, to me, the big issues to cause this to happen are changes in our zoning regs is when I read through here. Getting donations from Steep Rock or other groups to give us a piece of land to do a couple of houses. It's really zoning regs that make the difference, I think, from what I read. And maybe that's a longer term process. But so anyway, that was my only thought in reading this. Otherwise, I mean, it's always been compelling when you read this data about our town and trying to get young families. I was one of those young families once to move here, and it was much different when I did that. And, so I applaud that work and effort to try to get there. I just was wondering why, where the 30 came from. So that's it. But thank you.
Leslie, is your hand up on purpose? Maybe not.
No, I'm still trying to figure out how to use this iPhone, so bear with me, folks.
It's okay.
That's okay. Jay, I could give you a little context on the creation of housing just from an abstract point of view. Over the past decade, the town has created about 7 new housing units
I know.
a year. So over 5 years, that would be 35. So
Yeah,
if we were able to meet this goal, we would effectively be doubling the new housing output of the town.
yeah. Fair enough, Wayne. I think that's a point to make though. So that, because for me, the time I've been involved on the town, on the board, this is the issue to me. I mean, and I'm so pleased to see the timing of this come up with the other things we've been talking about in town, that it's great, but 30 just seems like a drop in the bucket to be able to really have an effect on getting some young families to move here. But Wayne, when you say it like that, it makes a lot of sense, that number makes a lot of sense. So,
Yeah, people sometimes realize, forget how small a town we are, and
Right.
that, I mean, if over 5 years, if you got 30 young families to move to this town, it would transform the community.
and you know what, in not to be, in 78, 79, when I moved here, I could name you 15 families that moved in just about within a couple of year period that all had kids and all, but that's not what it's like today. So I get that.
Well, and I will just add, I mean, I think it's a very good question, Jay. And I think one of the other things that I have been thinking about a lot is also, trying to create a realistic goal in terms of, because in most cases, these units are funded by the Department of Housing, like the Vincent Farms project. And, there's only so much of that money to go around. And it often takes 5 years to get a project from the beginning
Sure,
to
that's that.
funded and constructed.
Right.
So I think it, as Michelle said, it would be a success, I think, to get, some more single family, first time home buyer options. Maybe again, maybe 6, 7.
Yeah,
And in addition to that, have at least one additional project that's funded by the Department of Housing, as all the others have been. I just hate, I don't want to get, because I know there are some residents who might feel like they are not interested in a lot of units created. And if you set out a goal like 60, which is probably not likely to happen, then you get people worked up about something that probably isn't gonna happen.
Fair point. And Wayne's point is a good one too. I agree. I'll that's fine. Thank you. Thanks for answering my question. That helps.
No, but I so appreciate the question and the eagerness to address the issue as quickly as possible.
As some of you know, I'm kind of impatient, so that's the way it is. Thank you. But I think the plan itself, as a person who has not been involved in the daily, in the development and all, is great. I think it's while, everybody wants something short. I think the data in here is easy to understand, easy to read, and makes a compelling point without a doubt. So thank you all for that.
Thank you. And then I think the only other thing I changed, I added a section about the habitat, because we had a section in here about the Washington Community Housing Trust, but we didn't have anything about habitat. So I added that in. And it talks briefly about my field. And then we changed this language a little bit around what the town is already doing in terms of making people aware of resources if they're at risk of homelessness. So I think that is all the only things that have been changed since the last meeting, but they have definitely all been out there in the draft plan that is on the town website. Does anybody have any other comments or questions about the draft plan?
Perhaps I should identify myself. Robert Woodruff. I made contact with Jim in July about my interest in perhaps serving on the Housing Commission. And this is then the first opportunity for them to meet. I've never attended one of their meetings, but I don't even see any names of them here at this meeting. So I don't know whether I'm an intruder or not, but I did read the whole report, which I like very much. And I had a couple of observations if it's proper to share them.
think
May
that
I
would be great.
interject here?
Go
Sure.
ahead, Leslie.
Okay, well, yes, Mr. Woodruff, Jim did notify me. And then some circumstances changed and then we hadn't had another meeting. But yes, you are more than welcome to join the committee. And yes, I think we'd like to hear your observations tonight. And thank you for being here with us.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. I was intrigued by the, on page 10, the grid of different towns and just the figures for affordable housing. I'm aware of, not with much detail, but quite a bit of activity in Kent. And I don't know how available it is to get the figures from other towns, but I suspect it would be a comparative difference that they've been a little more successful or ambitious than we have. And it would be interesting to see that some of the towns in Litchfield County are have had more success in this way. I don't know the figures myself, but it's only a suspicion that I have.
Jocelyn probably does. Jocelyn?
I do. We do, and it's actually a link from the back of the housing plan has an appendix, and there's something called the what's it called? It's called how I've been calling it housing Northwest Connecticut housing report, but it's a housing needs assessment for all 21 towns in the Council of Governments region, which includes Kent. And I'm just trying to open it while I'm talking to you. So that is an appendix, and you can, and anybody who wants to can open the link from the appendix and see all the other towns in our region. What they have done in terms of the number of units that they have. Here it is. Yeah, so a link to this regional housing needs assessment is in the back of that report. And where is it? Here it is. This is the same list, but for all 21 towns. So Kent has 1,600 basically total housing units. They have 67 affordable housing units, which is 4% of their total housing stock.
Can you enlarge it a little?
Sorry.
Thanks, Jocelyn.
Hey, Jocelyn, or
Yeah.
anybody actually can maybe answer this. Just curious, if we add 30, we hit our goal. So we go to 73. What percentage would that get us to? We can do that math.
About 3.5%.
I meant anybody but Wayne. I knew you could. Okay. Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
Oh, and honestly, again, I mean, well, I don't know. The whole 10% thing, that's a whole nother conversation. You know, I think and then that's the reason for doing this housing plan process is let's just come up with what could be realistic over a 5-year period. Let's try to get it done. Let's come up with realistic strategies. Let's get it done. You know, when you talk about the 10% numbers, it starts to make people are like, that many new units in Washington.
The day we hit 10%, we will look exactly like Torrington. So
Well, that's what people think or worry about. So
Jocelyn, tell us about North Canaan though. I'm not very familiar and they have 10%. What, I don't know that I've even been to North Canaan.
North Canaan is very different than Washington. I don't know what you want me to say about it. They have a lot more multifamily units, a lot more smaller units on smaller lots. You know, the median income is much different than Washington.
Okay.
it's a bit of a forgotten town. Yes, maybe Michelle, it's sort of stuck between Salisbury and Norfolk and not a lot
Oh,
of,
so it's up top, up north up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
If
I
we
wasn't-
if we compared ourselves with Kent, it might encourage.
I had
people to
a couple
compete
of other
some more.
questions.
That's a good point.
There is a difference between total housing units and simply households that I think could profit from being clarified. I think I'm back in the page 10 or before then but I think that the total housing units establishes the 10% figure, whereas the households, which is a smaller figure, only 1,400, that's probably what year-round people who are here during the week and not coming up from elsewhere for a weekend. Am I right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, I'm not, it's just, I struggled to get that until I reread it, and I don't know if it's worth a comment. I do notice that on page 12, goal 3, there's a paragraph right at the top, challenge, headed by challenge. And that last sentence, I think we want exist rather than existing. It's a small typo probably. But thank you.
Thank you. That was one of the ones I had and couldn't find in my notes. So thank you.
What page is that again, Michelle?
12, page 12 at the top, the paragraph that says challenge, it's the last sentence.
Okay.
I haven't had a chance to Google small cities or American Rescue Plan Act, which I guess I need to do, but I don't know what those are and whether it's worth expanding on those. That's part of goal 3, section 2.
Just so you know, those are just grant opportunity. Actually, the American Rescue Plan Act is money that has come from the federal government through the states to the towns. So that's just, we got half this year and we'll get half next year. So that's not ongoing. But the small cities block grant is something run through the federal government and the housing Department of Housing. So they're just grant opportunities that are usually directed towards affordable housing. I don't know if we need to explain more than that.
I know at times I've been asked, and I've probably even come up with a list of different funding sources for affordable housing. The problem is that it changes as fast as you write it. Like as you're writing it, some program will disappear and some other program will reappear. And so I hesitate to, I mean, CDBG, small cities, has been around for a long time, but what it's being used for has changed in just in the last 6 months. And obviously ARPA didn't exist.
And that's a COVID thing. So that's going to disappear
Yeah, I think
That's a once and done.
I think again, what I hope we get through this process is, you know, inspiration for volunteers that volunteer with the local housing commission and the nonprofits, and that they'll know what resources to go to, like David Berto, for example, who, you know, works with all these groups to get their projects funded and knows the latest and greatest about all of that. So I think it's a good question, and I'm hoping that this plan will just help kind of get information about where to go to get that information. All right, so if you guys don't mind, I'm going to move on to the conversation around presenting the housing plan at the October meeting.
Hey, Jocelyn,
Yes.
just a procedure thing. Do you need a formal vote of this committee to say, yes, this is what we want to send off to planning, or
Well,
is it just a
I kind of
given?
thought we already did that, but
Okay,
it wouldn't hurt to, I guess, to do it again. I mean, I think I thought that when we met last, we said with these changes, we're comfortable sending it to the planning commission for.
That's what we agreed upon. Yes.
okay, then that's good. I just wanted to make sure we're all covered. Thanks.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, I think it's good. I mean, if anyone isn't comfortable now, that would be, we should discuss that, but otherwise I think that was the discussion at the last meeting.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
we had decided that so that we could get closer to the finish line by using October and Wayne's planning meeting.
So a few questions. Wayne, I wonder, is this the only thing on the planning commission's agenda for October 6th?
No, we have other business, but this will be first. We will actually conduct the public hearing at the onset of our regular meeting. So the public hearing will start at 7:30 and it'll go as long as it needs to go. And once the public hearing ends, the planning commission will re-enter our regular meeting.
Okay, and I guess one question I have is this going to be presented by the Washington Housing Commission to the Washington Planning Commission for approval, for adoption, for feedback? What were you guys thinking?
We would have two roles here and they would be sequential. One would be to determine whether this plan is consistent with the current plan of conservation and development, which no surprise here, it will be. And then after that, the next procedural thing would be for the planning commission to vote to refer the plan as submitted or with whatever changes or amendments or whatever to the Board of Selectmen for them to approve it, because ultimately the Board of Selectmen approved the plan. But they would not get it until the planning commission voted to send it to them.
Great. I like that.
Okay.
So how much of a presentation do you want in terms of what's in the housing plan? And I guess that's the first question.
Well, the planning commission will have seen the plan in advance of the meeting. They already have it. So they're not going to be at the meeting with a gas pump stare thinking, what is this and what's going on? They're going to be prepared. So I think what's best is for you to just give a presentation like you were presenting it for the public, I mean, and assuming that those who are interested have at least looked at the plan. So you don't have to go line item by line item. You can give an overview And then probably what the planning commission will do, well, what I'll do as presiding chair, I will initially ask the planning members if they have any questions of the committee or of the plan itself or whatever. And they might have a few. And then I'll turn it over to the public and I'll let the public, weigh in with comments or questions and whatnot. And sometimes planners will interject after that. And that I'm basically a traffic cop. So that's essentially the process.
Okay, so what does this group want me to present? Do you want to present? What, I'm happy to present it, but if you would prefer to, or somebody else wants to take the lead, that's fine with me too.
Jocelyn, I think with all the work that you've helped with us on doing this whole project, I myself would like to have you present.
Okay, and I'll just, obviously I'm presenting the work of the commission and the task team. But I'm obviously pretty comfortable with the content. So I'm happy to do that.
That's fine. Also, Jocelyn, you should know that the planning commission decided that the public hearing will be virtual.
Okay, yes, and we put that in the flyer as well.
Right. I mean, our
Great.
regular meeting is going to be hybrid, but the public hearing will be virtual only. So
Okay,
that's mainly because of COVID concerns. I mean, we spend 3 weeks advertising this thing. If we got 80 people to show up, we would never be able to do that in a public space with
safely.
distancing. And so we just decided it's just going to be virtual. So
Okay, so we'll all be there virtually.
yes.
May I just throw in my probably not even 2 cents, probably half a cent. Jocelyn, you are a marvelous presenter and I have complete faith and you're really good at this. I think putting a local face, Michelle is also extremely good at this and you guys work really well together. I think it just spices it up a little bit if you kind of maybe consider kicking it back and forth and streamlining it. I have no say in this or dog in this fight. I just think that would be kind of terrific because it is public. It's not, you're not just, if you were just presenting to the commission, I would say you don't have to really gloss it up very much, but in this case, maybe you kind of do. Just a thought.
I think that's a good idea too.
I'm wondering if there's some way we can encourage people to actually read it ahead of time, the public. I know that it'll be there, but how do we get them to do that?
It does say,
I guess maybe if
Oh.
we've been passing these out, we mentioned.
Yeah, well, that's what we're getting,
Possibly.
that's what we want to get to. That's the next conversation. And Jay, I think you were talking while you were muted. but-
sorry, yeah, it's in that's what I was saying. It's in this draft to, and maybe you can highlight it
Yeah.
more, put it in bold or something, but I think that's there. That talks about looking at it, before.
Yeah,
It
I
gives you
see
the
that,
link
but I
to it.
think, maybe as you said, maybe it should be highlighted. That it's, and maybe have it available other places besides on the website, in the library or in the banks.
Well, let's talk about getting people to read it and getting people to, if they have questions or comments about it, come to the October 9th meeting. Let me just, I thought I had it pulled up on my screen, but
So while you're pulling something up, Jocelyn,
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea, Jay and Judy, about encouraging people to read it ahead of time. I'm going to have a notice, an announcement put on the front page of on the home of the website, advertising the public hearing. And what I'll try to do is make sure there's also a link to the plan right there. We have it posted on the housing page, but I'll get it on the front page of the home page for the next 2 weeks. So So that's helpful, but I like the idea of actually having some printed copies around because not everybody is online. Darn, I wish we had thought of that sooner. I wonder how quickly I could get that turned around. I could ask also about just the printing capabilities here, you know, on the big copier downstairs, if making a handful, you know, like 20 copies, just to have some up at the library and some here, maybe. Maybe I could do it in-house.
Michelle, I
maybe-
thought we had decided that some copies were going to be made and passed around.
Well, the flyer, yes,
Oh.
but not the, we never talked about copying the draft plan. And
Oh, the
I,
draft plan. Yeah, no, that's a tough one.
yeah, I mean, it's,
Maybe having one available at the town hall and maybe each bank, but not a lot. Because, you know, people, if they want to see it, they can go online or they could go to the town hall and look. I don't know.
It's already at the town hall.
Okay. So make sure everybody's aware of that.
Where is it at the town hall?
yeah, you've got it here at town hall, right?
It's at Sheila's, on Sheila's counter.
Oh, good.
It's duly filed with the clerk.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Terrific.
How about posting it in the lobby there?
Well, Michelle, why don't we talk
Yeah.
first about what your thoughts on getting the flyer out there are?
Yeah, so the flyer, which I have a box of, I'm glad you didn't have me make 1,000 now that we're only 2 weeks out. I left some up at the library. I'll have to go see how they're doing. And I put a stack here in the town hall. I was gonna bring a stack over to the market as well and see if they would put it out. But our original intent was to hand out on the weekends at the farmer's market or out in front of the market. And I have permission to hand it out at the farmer's market. So we just need some people. I can do this Saturday. Not sure if I can do the next, but is anyone willing to? And I can make sure I bring them and I think it's always more fun having done this before if at least 2 people are there together. So
Yeah,
we can
I'll be
either
there.
just decide now.
I'll volunteer to be one of them. I'm sorry I'm late, folks. I got hung up with a broken lawnmower and forgot all about it. But I'll be there anyway. I helped my cousin set up the table for the April Forum, so I'll volunteer to hand out flyers.
Awesome, thank you. So you're there, what, the farmer's market opens at 10, correct?
Correct, 10 to 1.
10 to 1. So if you wanted to do maybe like the first shift or, well, 10 was 3 hours. It's not that long. At least
I
at 10.
I have to come back there to help my cousin break down and load up anyway. So I'm not, I might as well just, I'm there. So I'm not really volunteering that much. Don't give me too much credit.
Well, thanks, Ralph. That's awesome. I'll be there. I'll make sure I'm
Okay.
there at 10 as well, and I'll bring the flyers.
Okay.
Are there any other places somebody could also go in outside the market in the afternoon if somebody wants to do that possibly?
Michelle, I
Yes,
would love to help, but I can't go anywhere. So, but I would suggest if somebody could possibly get over to Marbledale by the post office for an hour or so. That's always a good place to get people interested in to read flyers.
There's another place too. I used to go there when I was running for office. The town dump.
Yes, the transfer station, Ralph, please.
Okay. Anyway, lots and lots of people come there Saturday morning. And
Yes,
it's
they do.
It's easier to hand them something right inside their window.
Yep.
any volunteers for the transfer station?
Normally it would be me, but I'm not available.
Jay, I know you're not part of the task team, but I know you definitely, you go on Saturdays, don't you?
I can do an hour or two somewhere. You assign me the place.
Oh, thank you, Robert. That's wonderful. Jay, will you hang with?
Being retired, I don't go on Saturdays anymore. To the dump.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. Anyone else? Any takers for Saturday? What are the transfer station hours on Saturday? I don't even know.
8 till 2, I think.
2 normal hours, yeah.
8 to 2. All right,
Probably
well,
good just for the first 8 to 10 is probably where you get most of the folks too.
I
so-
agree with Jay on that one.
So
8
some,
to 10. Seriously, morning
Yep,
people,
8
huh?
8 to
Yeah.
10 is your best bet on the transfer. Absolutely.
All right,
Yeah.
any takers on that?
I'll do that.
Okay, great. I will. Judy knows what a big thing. I will come at 8 because I need to bring the flyers anyway.
I
But
guess
Michelle,
I'm out of town. I can't do it.
That's okay.
Michelle, are you thinking of this weekend and next weekend? Or, because I know, I thought I'm just to volunteer Lindsay. She's on mute, I don't know, but I thought she had,
Yeah, she's in the chat here. She had volunteered for a weekend and then we canceled. I do have some at the
Right.
library counter.
Yeah, so I'm gone October 2nd. Or I would have volunteered for that. I could be around the 25th, but it seems like that's covered for the farmer's market. I could station somewhere else Saturday morning.
How about, what if I meet, let's see. We've got Ralph and myself at the market. So if I start at the transfer station and hang there for a little bit with you guys, bring the flyers, and then meet Ralph at the farmer's market at 10. And then maybe I won't stay that whole time, just leave some flyers there. Then it looks like we'll have we'll have the farmer's market and the transfer station covered for this weekend. Does that seem doable?
Yep.
Yeah, and
Okay.
so if you wanted me to meet, I could tag in for you at the farmer's market or the outside of the actual market. Do we need like permit or anything to hand out stuff outside of the market?
So at the farmer's market, I checked in with Laura already and she said we're fine. I usually, if you're gonna set up a table at the market, you need to check in with them, but I haven't done that because I didn't know if we were gonna stand outside the market. We don't really have a table. And we really could be just standing on the sidewalk between the market and the farm, anywhere out in the depot. It is pretty decent
You
traffic.
could mingle with the crowd, say good morning, and we're developing a housing plan. Please come to the meeting. Do a little politicking.
Yeah, no, I agree. So Lindsay, if you want to come to the farmer's market, that would be great. And I'll go to the transfer station with Robert and then I'll leave at 10 to bring the flyers over to the market, maybe hang there for a little bit. And I think those two sites should be then covered.
Okay, so I'll probably come up around 10:30 or 11 then. I might bring my dog.
That's fine. Okay.
all right, so then the flyer obviously asks people to consider coming on to the planning commission meeting on October 6th to hear about the plan. It also does tell them down here where they can find the housing plan if they want to read it ahead of time. And Michelle, you said you were going to put something on the homepage about it. It will have a link to the plan.
Yeah, so I was going to put up the meeting with the Zoom link on the town's homepage, but I'll see if we can add another link to the actual draft plan. We have a hard time getting the homepage for some reason
Play
formatting.
nice.
Yeah, it doesn't play nice, but I will do what I can to get that all on the homepage there.
And then are you going to do is there like a selectmen's newsletter or a e-news blast or something?
Yeah, it already went out in last week's. And then there's hopefully everybody saw I put a little article in the town newsletter as well. So that got mailed to all the households and it had the date in there with a little bit of a couple of facts. I mean, it wasn't a huge article. I just grabbed some stuff off the flyer. But
Great.
and I'll put out the sandwich board as well. So all regular avenues should be covered. And if you think of any others.
I know Jim sends out the weekly newsletter. You might want to ask, and I'll try to remind him to have this as one of the first things in the newsletter rather than farther down. We got a lot of stuff in there lately, so it
Yeah,
might be helpful to have it as a lead off. At least for the next 2 weeks anyway.
yeah, they usually try to go by order of date. So as we get closer, we should get moved to the top, but maybe I'll
this-
have Jim see if I can get him to get a little plug.
As a heads up, yeah.
Yeah,
All right, terrific. So a lot of outreach. Hopefully a lot of residents will hear about the plan, read it, come to the planning commission meeting if they want to hear more. And hopefully the planning commission will decide that it's consistent with their town plan and refer it to the Board of Selectmen. If not hopefully at that meeting, but if not, I guess it would be moved to the next meeting. And then hopefully in terms of next steps, then obviously, I guess we should regroup after that housing commission meeting in case there are comments or other, feedback that we receive that we want to incorporate before it goes to the Board of Selectmen.
maybe after the planning meeting, but before Board of Selectmen.
Yeah. And in my mind, ideally, let's see, it's going to be October. I mean, ideally, it go to the Board of Selectmen in late October or early November. So,
We meet every other week, so we'll be
Okay.
there.
all right,
No
great,
problem.
great.
And the next housing, I'm just looking at the calendar, the next housing meeting is October 12th. So it's right after. So that would be a good time. Monday, the 12th Tuesday, the 12th. We could discuss any comments or changes if we wanted. Do you have that one on your calendar, Jocelyn?
Yeah, I had it with a question mark, so I'm erasing the question mark right now.
Michelle,
Yes?
Jocelyn, Michelle, I thought the plan that we're going to be presenting to planning is the one that's going to be accepted. We're not going to start second guessing and, rewrite things. I thought we were going to go from us to planning with Wayne with the public hearing to then the selectmen. I don't think we need to go back and address things. People will have had the opportunity to speak to us beforehand.
Well, the issue, how a public hearing works is that once the public weighs in with comments and questions and commissioners do the same, whether the planning commission is reviewing regulations or ordinances or plans or whatever, if there are any requested changes that the planning commission deems pertinent
Right.
or even
That's what it-
necessary, they may request that those be incorporated into the presented plan. Now,
Right,
it may turn out that none of that will happen. So,
exactly.
and in which case we would kind of literally just rubber stamp the thing and send it to the selectmen.
Right,
Usually in this sort of thing, if there are revisions, they're very minor. So I wouldn't worry. I mean, you're not going to have to reinvent the wheel here.
right. That was my thought.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking that it might be nice to keep that meeting on the 12th just to check in case.
Well, we can do that anyway. That's our regular scheduled meeting
Okay.
anyway. So that's not a problem.
Okay. Yeah, and hopefully it'll be, we receive these few comments. How about we address them this way? And then that's all, that's it.
Right, exactly.
But
That sounds
Or-
like a better plan.
Or maybe a victory lap.
I'll go with that one.
Celebration.
I like the victory lap.
All right, I think that is all we have to talk about tonight. So this group is meeting next on October 12th at 5:30. But hopefully everyone will be virtually on the Planning Commission meeting Zoom on October 6th at 7:30. And
We'll be there.
I think that's it.
Okay, I like to just say one thing. I want to thank everybody who's been part of this and going through this complex procedure. A big thank you, because the Housing Commission itself, I don't think we could have handled it. But with everybody's help and input, it's been a really interesting process.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Nice work,
Absolutely.
you all of you.
So we'll see you all on the 6th. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay,
See everyone on the
Sounds
6th. Some of you
Okay.
I'll see tomorrow on Saturday.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
motion to adjourn.
A second? We're adjourned. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank
When I-
you, you
When I was
too.
on- when I was on the zoning commission, motion to adjourn was my best thing.
Oh, good. Well,
Well
you did a
done,
good
Ralph.
job.
Well done. Everyone
Thank
needs to
you.
bring something to the table.
Right. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Good night. Have a good evening.
Thanks. Good night.
Thanks. Bye.